I remember during the Bush administration, I used to make fun of Grover Norquist because people used to say he was a big power player, and I'd never even heard of him. And then I started talking to people, and they all said, oh no, he is really spooky guy. Don't take him on, Glenn, while you're taking on George Soros. Well, things have to be done now, don't they? So let's start telling the truth and exposing people for who they really are. Grover Norquist to help me explain to you, and this is just the beginning of this. We plan on doing quite a bit on Grover Norquist and some of the other GOP operatives. Frank Gaffney, president for the Center for Security and Policy, and also Daniel Greenfield. He is the Shillman Fellow of the David Horowitz Center for Freedom. I want to, I guess, let's start with this. Because I find this is my first entrance into Grover Norquist. He is the guy responsible for a lot of the Muslim Brotherhood stuff that goes on in the White House now, isn't he? Start with Frank, and Daniel, you can take it too.
You know, Glenn, I think most people who know Grover only as kind of a prominent anti-tax guy in the conservative movement would find that statement unbelievable. And to be honest with you, I would have. But for the fact that I saw it firsthand as a result of sharing office space for what I think of as 7 biblically long years with Grover Norquist, in which I had an opportunity to witness it firsthand. I saw terrorists in his office space. I had my colleagues come to me and say, you know, there's a Muslim Brotherhood front operating out of his office suite. It was called the Islamic Free Market Foundation or Institute, II, Islamic Institute for short. This was an operation that was created by a man who's now serving time in federal prison for terrorism by the name of Abdurrahman al-Amoudi, and it went on from there, penetrating the Bush campaign leading up to 2000 and then the Bush White House, and that set the stage for what's going on under Obama now.
Daniel, tell me what his motivation would be. Why would he be doing this?
Well, the Muslim Brotherhood, like the communists and the Nazis before them, were expert at setting up front groups with innocuous names and finding people who would be useful to them. Norquist was useful to them, and in some ways they were useful to him. But what he was doing was really entangling the Bush administration, making them complicit in this kind of terrorism so that the Bush administration would not be able to take a firm line. It would have to say, yes, there's a lot of moderates out there, and we really can't go around alienating them because we're now complicit in this.
Okay, let me just go through some of the things that he has been for. He is for American Sharia, a supremacist program that I guess, Frank, you can go into here in a second. He has supported George Soros and J Street's anti-Israel agenda. He's worked to prohibit the government from using classified information to deport illegal alien terrorists, encouraged the closure of Guantanamo, supported the construction of the Ground Zero Mosque, endorsed civilian trial for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in New York City. He is for sharp defense cuts in the time of war, immediately withdrawing U.S. forces from Afghanistan and Iraq. He espouses open borders, demands amnesty for illegal aliens, promotes gay marriage, promotes gays in marriage, promoting internet and other forms of gambling, promotes legalization of illegal drugs. There's a lot of things here, Frank, that I would say that maybe he's just a libertarian. Is he a libertarian, or is he playing for the progressive side?
Well, that's a judgment call, I guess, to some people. To me, it's pretty clear. When you put it all together, I think most libertarians are not hostile to our country, are not hostile to our Constitution, are not working with, hand in glove, the radical left, to say nothing of the Islamists, to undermine, the conservative movement. And, you spoke in your monologue about the attacks on Ted Cruz. Those follow attacks on Tom Coburn, attacks on Mike Lee, of course, attacks on the Heritage Foundation. I mean, this is a guy who is doing the bidding, at the very least, if not all in on his own right. He's certainly helping people who are enemies, I believe, of this country, and certainly enemies of the Republican Party, if there's anything left of it, and the conservative movement specifically.
Can you give me an example where he is comfortable in working with the progressives and Islamists in particular? Something we could go back to in history and look.
a very compelling, again, don't take it from me, look at this for yourself. In a course that you've been kind enough to help me talk about with your audience in the past, MuslimBrotherhoodInAmerica.com, Glenn, we've got a clip in part 7 of Grover Norquist at a meeting in Dearborn, Michigan in October 2011, put together between George Soros's, progressives or leftists, radicals, and the Islamists. And there he talks very candidly about what amounts to an influence operation that he's been running against a prominent conservative Republican Senate leader. And, you just can't come away from this with any conclusion other than he knows exactly what he's doing. And what he's doing is, in this case, advancing the interests of not just Muslims, but Islamists. And I'm afraid that's the kind of thing that he's got to be held accountable for.
Daniel, real quick, I've only got 30 seconds now. Can you tell me what makes you think he's not just a freedom guy, that he is playing for the other side?
Well, if you were a freedom guy, then why would he be backing an ideology associated with a completely totalitarian regime? Why would he be backing the dissolution of the United States, the misfortunes of the conservative movement? And why would he be doing everything possible to undermine the entire possibility that the Republican Party can push a freedom-based agenda?
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Back in just a second. And I want you to know that this is a very complex issue. And I think it is time for somebody to take on the establishment Republicans and tell you exactly who's who. If you're for the Constitution, I don't care if you're a liberal or a Democrat or a Republican and a conservative, I don't really care. If you're for the Constitution of the United States of America, that's our dividing line. And there are too many in the Republican Party, so let's clean out our own house first. Let the Democrats worry about themselves. Why don't we try to find the people that are supposedly on our side and clean out the house there? Back in a minute.